I must admit that I'm looking forward to the local government debates because my good mayor here is on form and prepared. I thought at one point that the election was going to be called because he was on a serious campaign. I think Prime Minister Holness also meant it when he was told, call it, Andrew, call it in 2011. And having called it, what was expected to be a landslide victory became a landslide defeat. And young people time. But equally, whether or not side A or side B will be successful is not a basis for calling an election. Maybe it is true that the PNP should not want an election, but that's not a basis for calling an election. Maybe it's factual that the JP will win landslide, but that's not a basis for calling an election. The basis of calling an election is based on a principle that people should be heard and that your performance should be judged. If it is found that your performance in the market, in Papine, was worthy of votes in Papine, it will recur to your benefit. If it is found that the what's her name? Senator Venetia Phillips, who's the PMP councillor, who's the PMP's, I'm making some proposals. Yes, Delhi have surprised me, I must say. But if it is that Councillor Venetia Phillips was perceived by the people to be the key practitioner, it will resound to her or the PMP's benefit. But none of that is the reason for calling an election. In fact, I put it to you that the people in Constant Spring Market that you took away and displaced, they may want to vote against. Though the people in wherever else may want to vote for. Well, you say it's inaction because maybe you have the document of the agreement, but I also have the demonstrations that they amounted against it in action. And so therefore agreement is not only in words, agreement is also in action. We have before us some arguments since Tuesday that has been polluted with lies and deception, stink of disrespect, and rank with delusions of grandeur. Because what you're putting forward, your intellect is not sufficient to take everybody for fool. You'd have to be intellectually superior to a level unquestionable that anything you say, regardless of how ridiculous it is naturally accepted because you can spin a tale better than everybody else. I'm going to first look at what is the reasons being proposed and put to the public and to the Senate that these reasons are not sufficient. I don't know the full details of 2003. In 2003, I was at the university. I wasn't a full participant in politics. But equally, nothing suggests that 2003 had to be correct. And the way I learn it is that reversed unfairness is not fairness. So if it is that you unfortunately had to wait 10 years, the reverse is not fair. That is you. But we should do a survey to see if no one had a problem with it. In fact, if we should follow the arguments of the JLP, which needs a time machine, then when they change the law for the murder law or the firearms law, and the judge said 40 years for murder, the person in front of the judge should say, but oh, John did get 10. That 40 years shouldn't apply. Because in 2016 and 27 and 2093 and 92, Mary got 6, so oh, me forget 40. And the judge will rightly say that you're getting 40 because things have changed and times have changed. You're getting 40 because the law has changed. And that law change was in full agreement with the Jamaica Labour Party. But the Jamaica Labour Party and its leadership is not true. And notice I didn't say not truthful, but to the principles that they expose, they're not true. Now I see everybody is in support of 3-in-1 and 2-in-1 and combination, combo package, go large with the referendum. Now in 2020, there was the ability to combo. Because in 2020, local government selection would have become due. Where was everybody knocking the table in the ears of the Prime Minister, who called the general election prior to its due date? Why wasn't it combined then, when the uncertainty of the times were greater than now? I don't want to be distracted, I'm still at Portmore. I hear the Minister Arnaldo Alando, who is in East Central St. Catherine. He claims that one reason for the delay is that there are some areas within his constituency that isn't represented by the Portmore mayor. I don't understand what's the problem with that. Because they are represented by a mayor, the St. Catherine mayor. In fact, I've never seen a conversation about people that have nothing to do with the people. The truth is that the JLP wants the St. Catherine Council, for which if the PMP holds Portmore as a part of St. Catherine, they will unlikely get. And the PMP wants to maintain St. Catherine Council, for which if Portmore is not a part, they might not keep. The whole quarrel around Portmore have nothing to do with Portmore. Wait a minute. You don't have a house in Portmore, so you can't talk to me. I am a citizen of Portmore. Now, hold on. He claims, hold on, man. You're yes. He claims, one debate at a time. I say you're going out, but he claims, Minister Arnaldo Turlan, friend of mine, Half-a-Tree Primary, that those 2 seats are underrepresented if we should go with an election at this time. But for some reason, the JLP has decided to sacrifice 15 areas without representation for a improved, in their minds, representation of 2 places with representation. Let I tell you, the 15 places that have no representation at present, that are people not less deserving than what you claim for Portmore. I'm going to give you the 15. Okay. In St. James, Catadupa, the councillor was removed by default due to absenteeism. When Charlie was making that statement, when Senator Sinclair was making that statement, remember when he was leading that action, he suggested at the time that in short order, the people will receive, not by election, representation. In short order, make it up. In St. James, Cambridge. No, I said Catadupa first. But Cambridge is now serving as an MP. That was a former mayor. Omar is now serving as a mayor. The people have no representation in Cambridge. Some people will claim that when the person is removed, the mayor steps in. It was not the intent of the law for the mayor into perpetuity. For one, the mayor has his own area to represent. Additionally, for 2, nobody voted for the mayor. Well, we don't know. You don't predict economic uncertainty. Economic uncertainty, I don't know if Russia going to invade Germany next. You don't predict economic uncertainty. You don't predict if another wave of COVID comes. So it wasn't intended for 3 years and 4 years and 5 years. This is what is happening. In St. James, Salt Spring, removed by default due to absenteeism. So in St. James, well, no man, in the St. James, President, Mr. President, give me some protection. In St. James, not only 3 unrepresented, the mayor now has 4 divisions that he must oversee with no knowledge of the people and no vote by the people. At least if it was Portmore, the elected would have received some support from those people in those areas. He has none. Let me go again. In Westmoreland, so we got 3. White House, that councillor, Mr. President, has resigned. In Petersfield, that MP is now the JLP's representative and a member of parliament. That councillor is now a member of parliament. In Manchester, Knockpatrick, that councillor has died. In St. Elizabeth, none of them is there, sorry. In St. Catherine, Greater Portmore East, that councillor have died. In Point Hill, that councillor have died. In Spanish Town, that councillor have resigned. I think also migrated. Sorry, resigned and I think migrated. In Spanish Town. In Clarendon, Mineralites, that councillor have died. In St. Mary, Retreat, now serving as an MP. In Trinityville, that councillor have died. In Fellowship, that councillor have died. In Ferry Hill, that councillor have died. To this point, 14. When you put undue stress, now the mayor from Kingston may not understand the requirements, because in Kingston, I see none. So maybe that is why you don't recognize that importance. Now let I tell you from my experience, within certain constituencies, there are differences so stark that local representation is the only true viable way to represent their true and total interests. I draw on East Rural St. Andrew, for example. Harborview is so different from Mavis Bank that Mavis Bank needs someone who understands. Let me tell you what happened when there is a hurricane in East Rural St. Andrew. A hurricane in East Rural St. Andrew have landslide in the hills, Mavis Bank and Garden Town. Look at the drizzle. It have flooding in the center, Kintyre. And it have storm surge on the flat, Dallas and Harborview. A person must be equipped to deal with all 3. And many times a single person cannot understand all 3. So, fine. I won't tell you about the computer center that was left to go into derelict and disrepair. I won't tell you about the park that was left to go into disrepair. I won't tell you about the education programs that were thrown up and discarded, the night schools. I'm saying that there are areas that I depended even on the JLP councillor to understand, yo, Shine, what's the situation? Very, very challenging. You know, have areas where those people don't have representation. I hear Councillor Sinclair say, oh God, he go from 2005 and he's been fighting and he don't get the land. You have to tell him when you get the land because you gave it to the parliament. But I'm saying that there are 40. There are 40. Yeah, teach him. Because if you don't get the land, about 40 about here. So make sure you're sure about to get the land. And give him some too with the way up. There are 14 without a person that can make equal representation. Not a person that they cannot go to say, let us try this or that or the other. There are 14 at this point. And even if your opinion is that some underperform, that is one of the outcomes of an election, that I can choose not to keep those who underperform. I hear this foolishness that Portmore need to be a parish. The local government election does not prevent Portmore from being a parish. It does not prevent Portmore from being a parish. But I go further. What did you say? What did he say? People support his inaction? What he said? PJ said? I can't remember. All right, that's what he said. No, I don't remember what you said. Because you know we do put people first. So therefore, when they say put people first, is inaction. A reasonable action is to run a referendum within this local government for Portmore to say if they want to be a parish and how they want to be represented if they are a parish. You have not done that. You have a consultation with 28 people over 3 consultations. And you, I know what I love with the JLP. When them said not true, it might be 29. It might be 30. Like no, one man they passed through at 12 and then he left. But it wasn't 200. So when you talk about combined referendum, Portmore should have the ability, not based on the fight over St. Catherine, to say we want to be a parish. And if we're a parish, we want direct elections or no direct elections. Or we want whatever, we don't know. Why is it that for Portmore, you have delayed an election when to be a parish Portmore isn't prevented? It's not being prevented. Equally, you want to tell me that your agenda 1, Portmore, is more important than your agenda 2, the economy? You have placed that the order of priority. All right. That I didn't want to hear. I just wanted confirmation. Because if you don't know, you don't go meeting. No, but wait. If Portmore is not priority 1, then how long we have to wait on the economy priority 2? If Portmore is not priority 1, then how long do we have to wait on what this is? High level of global uncertainty. Which is nobody knows. So even, okay, we soon come to that. We soon come to that. So even if, no, but wait, no. Yeah, man, we soon deal with the context of COVID-19. Because we had a general election within the context of COVID-19. Good. At the peak. Okay. All right, let us use a more refined word. There is uncertainty about your timeline because there is none other than Portmore that you have control over. You have no control. All right. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why there's uncertainty. Let me tell you why there's uncertainty. 1 second. Mr. President, there must be uncertainty within proposed dates if proposed reasons are not in control of the people proposing the dates. So if you say one reason is that there is global uncertainty, you are not in control of global uncertainty. So therefore you cannot predict with any certainty, by extension giving uncertainty to when this will be removed. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I've also heard the JLP claim, in particular Senate Minister Turlan, that with this change, the people in those 2 areas will then get full representation under Portmore. I don't know how he came to that conclusion because the boundaries have not yet been defined. There's nothing to suggest that where he is will not be in St. Catherine. So unless the JLP have predetermined boundaries, I don't know how they come to a conclusion. Because a community, let me give you something where, stop disturbing me. Let's go. Let I hear you. All right. So there's no way because of what? Because peace of it. Hold on. Mr. President. The only method of which disqualifies a cut is cross parish. That's the only method. That Kingston cannot go into St. Thomas, Clarendon cannot go into St. Catherine. That's the only thing that disqualifies. No. there's no Portmore. There is no actual boundary where that 2 areas that he speaks of doesn't fall in the current boundary of Portmore. Do I really have to yield, Mr. President?
I'll soon tell you. Yes, yes. Yes, Senator Rodriguez Campbell Rodriguez.
So to give the impression there are no borders for Portmore and they were done, they were done. So to say that there are no borders
Senator,
is incorrect. Please do not mislead.
Senator Rodriguez Campbell, thank you. Senator, continue, please.
Absolute ridiculous. I have to respond. No. Portmore as is.
1 minute. Senator Brown, will you give Senator Crawford a chance to complete his presentation, please?
And education, not just presentation, education. Portmore as is not a parish. So Portmore cannot have parish boundaries. Indeed, an argument put forward is that the re-boundary effort is a part of what makes it necessary to decide where people will fall after the election. So therefore, if it is that Portmore is not yet a parish, there can be no actual basis to say those in St. Catherine cannot be in Portmore and those in Portmore cannot be in St. Catherine because Portmore is not yet a parish. And that was stated. Yeah. Sometimes, yeah. They say a word to the wise is sufficient, but a lie to the foolish is a disrespect. All I'm saying is that what you put here don't make sense. The high level of uncertainty in the global economy and the economic environment, which may have domestic implications, requires government to focus at this time at building resilience to possible future shocks, as well as setting the country on a path to sustained growth. I don't see how local government stops that. I'm not sure if the Minister of Finance is a candidate in the local government. I'm not sure if the Prime Minister is a candidate in the local government. It seems they're saying that because they will feel a duty to campaign, that duty will be prioritized over their responsibilities as ministers, and therefore, by extension, will put the country at risk. That's a ridiculous argument. But let us look at some countries that had elections in the global uncertainty. In the global uncertainty, Barbados had election. Weren't they in the same global? Dominica had election. Not in the same global? St. Lucia, St. Kitts, Grenada, Antigua, they had election. They're not Guyana. I'm coming to that. Jamaica. Where's the global? Wasn't worse then? So no principle. What you are putting forward is untruthful and malicious and unable to be accepted. But additionally, in times of crisis, the people should be allowed to choose who leads them in that times of crisis. In times of crisis, on the basis that we choose who lead you. The people should decide who take up them garbage in times of crisis. Because for now, garbage has not been prioritized by that government. The people should be able to say who delivers their rural water in times of crisis. So what is this basis that if there is a crisis, then we should now move from a democracy to an autocracy until the crisis ends? Is that what number 3 is saying? You say you're not calling it because you have a crisis being faced. No. The other thing I want to know is if local government is less important than central government. Well, the country needs to hope that it is so. Because if it is not so, then these same arguments may be used for general elections as well. Because if local government is of equal importance to general election, then the arguments being used for the constant delay may be extended to the general election. The same global environment, the same uncertainty, the same cost.
The informative information presented in this video is motivational and is positively aimed at inspiring, educating and entertaining the viewers with the cutting edge of critical reasoning. If you enjoy the contents on the Black Radar YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to show your support.